Holy crap. It's actually following me. Hey folks, Ray from Rainmaker.com here. Today I've got the unboxing of the Skydio R1 drone. This is the beastly box that this thing comes in. It is definitely a bit of a larger drone compared to something like the Spark or the Mavic Air, but there's some huge differences here. And in particular, if you're looking to do any sort of sports tracking. So if you look at sports tracking, you've got kind of a number of options out there. None of them are all that awesome, to be honest. So if you look at something like the Spark here or the Mavic, these have active track or follow me modes, but both of them have a lot of caveats. I've talked about those caveats in the past up in those videos. For example, with active track on all the DJI drones, it tries to follow you using basically just one image sensor camera. And if you go behind a tree or if you move quickly or you change your direction, it generally loses you. That's just sort of the reality there. It's well established, well known. You could do follow me, which follows the remote control, but then you have to deal with this bulky remote control. It's just not all that great. So then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got things like the AirDog drone and the Stalker drone. Those have little transmitters that they put on your person and you follow them, and that's awesome too, except they don't have obstacle avoidance and they'll happily run straight into a tree. So this is what I hope will be the middle ground there, whereas you do not have to have a transmitter, but it has a dozen plus cameras on there to track you at all times, and according to everything I've seen online, it should be able to just keep on tracking and I should not be able to run away from it. That's what we're going to find out. But first we're going to do an unboxing. So this video is all about the unboxing. I'll do some preview sample footage at the end of it, but my separate video which dives into how well this actually works out in real life is up there. Unboxing deals with boxes, and the other one deals with all the other cool stuff outdoors. Still, let's dive into what is in this box here. The first thing I do is get this sleeve out of there. Maybe. Okay, there we go. Sleeve is off. I'm going to turn this around so you can see it once I open it up here. I'm sensing it's upside down. Okay. Come on. Magic? Oh yes, I did it the right way. This here is the Skydio R1. This is a note from the CEO and founder, and then basically some regulatory stuff that we don't really care about. Then we got the drone. Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to take this off the top here. So it looks like there's a drone right there. I'm going to put that on the side for a second. And then a bunch of batteries down below and other parts. So I'm going to take those all out real quick. So this right here is what we call an almost empty box. So a single lens cleaning cloth, some stickers, 1 sticker, 2 sticker, and 3 sticker. It's also known as a spacer box to keep the rest of the parts from falling apart. Then we've got extra propellers. So if you go and crack this open right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and instructions inside of there. So it comes with 4 props. It's got 4 extra props. You'll probably note that these are slightly different. So there are 2 and 2 is pretty common on drones to have basically 2 different prop types, and it kind of talks about this here as well. Then we've got an extra battery. So this actually already has 1 battery here on it, but it has a second battery here, which is kind of cool. So one of the few, the only drones I know of, in fact, that comes with 2 batteries by default without having to buy a bundle version. Of course, for $2,500, which by the way is the crazy price for this thing, it better come with 2 batteries. There we go. And you'll see it's got a unique battery charging system there, which we'll talk about right now. Then here is the battery charger. So we've got, there we go. And that's it. So USB-C here, which is kind of cool, pretty straightforward. And then into here, which is the cradle for this. So USB-C plugs in like this, and then this will go right like that, and then it simply charges up. You see the second battery is right here as well. There we go. So our 2 batteries right there, our charger, and then we have boxed more cables. So go ahead and crack this open. And this looks like a bunch of USB-C cables in here. So we got, yep, 1 USB-C to USB-A, I believe, and then USB-C to USB-C. And this would be for plugging in right there. If, for example, you had a new MacBook Pro or whatnot, you want to go plug this in to download footage from the drone straight to your computer. Keep in mind, this unit does have storage built into it, so you can't actually put another SD card in there, unfortunately, but it's built in right there. And then this is if you have everything else on the planet except for a new MacBook Pro, so you can go ahead and do the exact same thing using this cable here, plug it in to download the footage. or you can use the mobile app, which we'll do in a second. Still, let's kind of look at this real closely, a little bit more closely anyways. Here we've got the Wi-Fi code and password, which we'll need to go ahead and configure Wi-Fi connectivity to this. I'm gonna put this right there so I don't lose it. And then on the back side here, we have this gimbal clamp to remove before flight. So we go and take this out, and this simply keeps the gimbal, which is 3-axis gimbal there, from bumping around in your bag. Okay, let's just do a quick look at the hardware itself, kind of walk through all the different pieces here. Up at the front here, we've got the main camera. This is the 4K camera. On the gimbal, you can see I've removed the gimbal clip right there. It floats around freely. When it's not powered on, it just goes and rests in that position. There are 12 additional cameras, making for 13 cameras total on the unit. To walk through them all real quick, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, flip it over, 11, 12, and then of course back to number 13 up there. Now remember, these ones on the side here are primarily for optical avoidance. They are not used in any way, shape, or form for recording that 4K video. Inversely, the one on front here is primarily for video. They don't do much in the way of optical avoidance with this camera itself. Instead, it's all the other cameras on the sides and the top. Speaking of the top, this is also where you'll find the USB-C port right there. The USB-C port is used for downloading data, your videos, and the log files from the drone itself to a computer or a USB hard drive. So this is useful if you were to get close to filling up that 64 gigs of internal storage space. You could plug a USB hard drive into it and then be off and running. You can also use an adapter, so if you don't have a USB-C hard drive, you can find like an adapter on Amazon for a couple bucks. I'll link to some down below that I've used. And then also the battery, of course, is in the back right here. It just simply pops out like this. Flipping the unit over on the bottom, as I mentioned, you already have those 2 cameras right there, but you also have these little rubber pieces right here that keep it from hitting the ground. So it just provides a little bit of kind of a leverage to pop up and keep the gimbal from touching there. You can do hand takeoffs and landings by just simply grabbing the back of the unit like this, holding it, and then it takes off. By the way, now's a good time to talk about how large this thing is. Despite what you may think, this does not fold up. I mean, obviously we all look at this and go, oh, it'd be great if this just simply like folded this way and around this way. That'd be awesome. That's not the case. And so when you look at other drones and carrying them in a backpack, for example, it's a pretty big difference. And this is, Mavic here, which is however you want to arrange it in a backpack, which is again what you're usually using sports drones for, is to go somewhere and track you in sports. That's a kind of a big bummer. So to look at the weight real quick here, I'm going to try to put this on. This might be a tricky one to actually get on here. I'm gonna put the battery in. So there we go, 1,111 grams with the battery. Here we go, the Spark is 304 grams, obviously that's tiny. The Phantom here, I think if I do it upside down, so I don't fold it back in again, is 745 grams also with the battery. The battery by itself sits in at 398 grams. Okay, with everything unboxed, let's go ahead and get the app up and running and paired to this. Okay, so here we are exactly 35 minutes later from the time I charged the batteries. I'm going to power it on by holding it down for 5 seconds until you see these blue lights right there. Go ahead and illuminate. Go and set the R1 as on option here, and we'll go into the Wi-Fi settings and connect to the drone itself. So we have that handy little sticker somewhere around here. It was there. It flew away. That's unfortunate. Got it. Okay, so here we are. I can see it right now on the app itself. So there we go, connected to the drone now. Hit continue. Read guide, we'll do that. So obviously keep the fingers away from the props. Pretty straightforward. Next, I use caution near thin structure. So that's, obviously telephone lines, power outlets, or power lines. Thin branches are really the big 3 that tend to screw over most drones from like an active tracking standpoint. Never fly over water wider than 30 feet. R1 does not avoid moving objects or cars, so that does make sense. So be aware if you're on a road, make sure there's no traffic there, because if you're going like this and a car comes, it may just kerplunk right into it, which would be bad. Fly and wind less than 12 miles per hour. We are astoundingly lucky today that is the case. And follow all local laws and regulations. Seems pretty straightforward to me. The water one we'll get back to. So in this case, I'm going to go in settings and see what my options are here. So video quality, I've got 4K 30, 1080 60, 1080 30. I'm going to leave it on 4K 30 because that's where the action is at. Then we got some options around the camera and how it's positioned. So we can do natural or inversion. This is when you're controlling the camera. And then down here, record audio. Yes, I do want to record the audio. That way it's easier for me to sync things up later on. And then down below, we've got flight logs. I should have nothing in there because I've got no flights yet. And some safety guides, first flight tutorials, and that's about it. So I'm gonna go cellular or Wi-Fi for updating things, so no problem there. Right now I'm on my Android phone. I've also got an iPhone, but I don't quite have the app yet available on iOS. It's coming here any day now, so that's the case there. I can see videos on the app, but I don't have those. In this case, I would go to fly. It looks like I go through the tutorial first. So I'm gonna go and just simply kind of skip through that. I can drag or tilt to pan the camera, tap an object to follow it. In that case, this would be me, hopefully in a moment here. Change the height up or down. So I can increase the height above me it's going to follow at. Be interesting to see what happens if I go through like trees where it has to go up or down as to how far that'll do that. Drag up or down to zoom it. So that's to zoom out or in basically by moving the camera in and out. I can then use the arrows to move left or right. So if I want to correct the view that I have here, I can do that at my initial starting point. And go ahead and I can tap something to go to move towards a point of interest. So say I wanted to go out towards a tree or a waterfall, whatever the case may be, I can do that and come back. And then I can use a little stick there to control it. So some basic controls here. It's not going to be as full featured as a standalone roll control, but you know, in most cases, if you're doing action following, you don't want to be that far away. Like the shots don't ever really look that cool to be like 300 meters away from a little person. And that's why you buy this drone. If you want to have like epic scenery shots, then honestly go buy a DJI drone. That's a better bet for you there. So it's all about following a person doing something cool, hopefully in sports. So you can see here the different cinematic modes that they have. So there's orbit, for example, to go around you, follow, tripod, side, lead, etc. The most difficult one for this drone to do is to lead, which means that it's in front of you, you are going towards it. Following from behind is the easiest and everything else is kind of in between. Okay, so now we'll go and choose the fly now option here. So I'm gonna click that little button. It's auto calibrating something. I'm gonna put it on the ground. At this point, it wants me to go outside, really outside. I guess I'm like halfway outside right now. Find a good clear space and do some initial tracking. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna show you the sort of the end resultant footage, but check out my full video on this up in the corner there, because that'll dive into how this really works in real life outside in a lot of different circumstances, from cycling to running to trees to, I mean, you name it, I'm gonna try to do it to find a way not to crash it, but to push it towards its limits. Anyways, let's go outside and check out the footage just as it is. So here we are, completely autonomous with Skydio R1 following behind me. Right now it's somewhat open. I mean, there's tons of shrubs and bushes around me though. But around the corner here, we've got a tree tunnel. I'm really interested to see what happens with that thing once we hit that up. No idea, I haven't tried it yet. Here's the real test. Can it dip below this tunnel here? Holy crap. It's actually following me. A bit behind, but it's following me. It's definitely cautious in here. It's really the only way to describe it. Very cautious. Still going though. Now it's catching up. Now it seems to sense I'm a little closer. And it made it through. Damn, that is impressive.